Now, I don't want people to think that this is me completely turning against Israel as a whole. I know there's going to be some people that won't like what I have to say, that support Israel entirely. And look, I do support Israel. I'm not turning my back against Israel. But like I have said a number of times, Israel is not above being criticized at all. It's not anti-Semitic to criticize something horrible that Israel has been a part of. And that recently, I even called it out in one of my videos, not entirely, but I think there's been enough backlash and outrage, especially from the Catholic community, wondering why in the world Israel would do such a thing and targeting the only Catholic church in Gaza. Now, I also want to say that I am not a Catholic. I'm a born-again Christian. And no, I'm not saying that there can't be Catholics that aren't born-again Christians. It just means that our doctrine is different. Vast majority of Catholics, whether you're practicing or not, there is a huge discrepancy in the doctrine from what I believe in to what you guys believe in. And maybe I can get into that at a later date. Do have friends of mine that do believe in the death, burial, and resurrection of Christ, and they are born again. They are going to heaven. And they don't just believe, I got to do good works and all that sort of other stuff. So I wanted to make that perfectly clear. Now, Michael Knowles from the Daily Wire, who has been a pretty prominent defender of Israel for quite some time, he had a few choice words to say when it came to Israel bombing the only Catholic church in Israel. The only Catholic church in Gaza, sorry, I believe that is. He says that you're losing me. When Israel does something like this, it makes you wonder, right? Like, what is actually going on? Like, why would you do such a thing? And I mean, Netanyahu has demanded answers for sure. Don't know whether or not we're going to get those answers, but I guess the investigation will be underway as to why this happened and what's the truth behind it. And I hope and I do pray that we do get answers as to why Israel chose to do this. Maybe it was a couple of people, maybe it was a mistake. We don't know. But have a watch of what Michael Knowles had to say.
And the priest, the parish priest, Father Gabriel Romanelli, was also injured. This is the line from the Latin Patriarch. The Latin Patriarchate, which is the Catholic Church in Gaza, the Latin Patriarchate strongly condemns this tragedy and this targeting of innocent civilians and of a sacred place. So Israel came out later on after international outcry, including from the White House. Israel came out and said, it was a mistake. It was an accident. Was it an accident? I don't see any evidence that it was an accident. Can you provide me some proof that it was an accident? You struck the church. Churches are pretty obvious targets. They're pretty obvious sites. You know, there's certain features, the cross, steeple, pretty obvious. Can you explain to me how this was an accident? Haven't heard that. The Latin Patriarch seems to think it was intentional. The targeting of innocent civilians, not just a stray bullet, the targeting. And he goes on, he says, however, this tragedy is not greater or more terrible than the many others that have befallen Gaza. Many other innocent civilians have also been harmed, displaced, and killed. Death, suffering, and destruction are everywhere. This horrific war must come to a complete end so that we may commence the long work of restoring human dignity. Diane Montagna, who's a great reporter on the Vatican and Rome and the Pope, says His Holiness renews his call for an immediate ceasefire. So he's talking about Pope Leo. He expresses his profound hope for dialogue, reconciliation, and enduring peace in the region. And then The Pillar, which is a Catholic outlet, says sources close to the Patriarchate's chancery told The Pillar Thursday that some officials believe the strike could have been a deliberate act of retaliation after Christian leaders recently condemned Israeli settler attacks on a West Bank Christian town. Now, I want you to put a bar up. First of all, we pray for the dead and for this Christian community, but put a bar there for a second. There's another story coming out, which is that Mike Huckabee, as strong a supporter as the State of Israel as there is, U.S. ambassador to the State of Israel. According to the Times of Israel, Mike Huckabee is threatening to declare Israel not welcoming to Christians as a visa fight blows open. Penned a scathing letter to the Interior Minister accusing Israel of blocking Christian groups from entering Israel and threatening reciprocal steps against Israeli visa seekers. As I've mentioned before, everyone seems to hate the state of Israel these days, mostly coming from the left, but some people on the right have joined. And I've been broadly supportive of the state of Israel, not really as an ideological matter, but as a matter of prudence. And you're losing me. You're losing me. When you strike churches, the only church in Gaza, even if accidentally, but especially if not accidentally, you're losing me. If you're losing Mike Huckabee, the Israeli government is really screwing up, is really not playing its cards right. If Trump, I think the press secretary yesterday said Trump was furious, Trump was angry, not the exact word, but he was quite dismayed to hear about this attack on the church. I agree with the Holy Father. I agree with the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem, and I agree especially with the Holy Father on most matters. The war needs to come to an end. There need to be political consequences for this action, and the war needs to come to an end. How long is the war going to go on? I know what the answer is. The answer is, well, until the hostages come home. Okay, well, how about we redouble our efforts to get the hostages home, if that's the impediment to peace? Because it seems like there have been a lot of side quests and side missions going in, the Iran nuclear facilities, maybe potentially regime change in Iran, occupying southern Syria. It seems like there have been a lot of distractions. The war has been going on for almost 2 years. When's it going to end? Just what's the end of it? Can anyone tell me that? When the hostages are released? Well, then focus on getting the hostages released. Well, no, when Hamas is totally destroyed. Okay, well, when's that going to be? When Iran is no longer funding terrorism. When's that going to be? When Syria is made safe for democracy. When? Give me an answer. Because the war cannot just go on indefinitely. A just war cannot just go on indefinitely. And when you start striking churches, accidentally or otherwise, when you start interfering with American interests, not allowing in the reporting about Ambassador Huckabee, when you start interfering with American groups going to the state of Israel, now we got a problem. And America is the only friend that Israel has on planet Earth. So I don't know. I do not get what the Israeli government is doing here, but I suspect there will be political consequences for it.
Mike Huckabee, one of Israel's strongest defenders, even he was coming out and saying, well, we demand answers, and the visas of Christians, maybe it's not a good idea for you to go there at the moment. Like, what is actually happening? It just seems like it was a deliberate targeting, as what the Catholic Church is saying. And Michael pointed it out, like, you can't not see that it's a church. Catholic churches are pretty prominent. It's not like they made a mistake. Oh, whoops, didn't see the Catholic Church there. It's quite big. The Catholic Church obviously is heartbroken, and many Catholics around the world are heartbroken, and Christians too. I'm heartbroken. Like, this is not what I ever wanted to happen at all. Like, I think it's despicable that Israel would be part of something like this. And whether or not they were targeting something close by and the church happened to be there and they made the decision anyway, I think it was the wrong kind of decision. I think they should have not chosen to bomb anywhere close to the church, because the thing is, if you're losing people that have been staunch defenders of Israel, all because you're just going out of your way to blatantly attack a Catholic church, that's a little bit of a problem. Now, here's an updated Christian population table from 1950 to 2020. You don't have many Christians in Gaza, the West Bank, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq. We know that that's not safe for them, but you've got a lot of Christians in Israel. So I'm not saying that Christians are not allowed in Israel. You are definitely allowed in Israel. It just means what's going on in Gaza at the moment. Yeah, they're definitely in the crossfire, and you got loads of reports, but I haven't seen any evidence to suggest that it wasn't deliberate. I don't know about you guys. Maybe you can leave something in the comments for me that I've missed. But Michael hasn't seen anything, and I personally haven't either. People are saying that it was an accident. The church lost some bricks, no damage on the inside. Netanyahu called the Pope and apologized. The IDF is investigating. We'll find out. I guess that's probably the best course of action moving forward, right? Trying to find out who is responsible for something like this and bringing them to justice. I mean, it's a good thing that Netanyahu had some choice words and he wasn't happy about it, but even Trump demanded answers from Netanyahu. And I think if you alienate Christians, and look, there's many Catholics I know, like Candace Owens and quite a few others, that don't support Israel. And Michael, being Catholic, he supports Israel. He's been a defender of Israel, but you've got him now going, you're losing me. You're losing people for doing stuff like this. And I am like, okay, the war needs to end. We need to come to a resolution before more innocent people get killed. That's what everyone, I think, wants at the moment. Whether or not Hamas wants to actually give up remains to be seen, right? But I don't think that they will. But say that they do, right? Like it would be great to see Israel win in some regards, get the hostages back, and bring about peace in the Middle East. It would be good to see that. But we know, as Christians, we know in the Bible, this is actually going to happen. The world is going to turn their back on the nation of Israel because for whatever reason, they keep doing this kind of stuff. I don't know if that's part of the reason, but apparently it's biblical that this kind of stuff is going to happen, and the nation of Israel will only have to rely on God and God alone to save them. But the world is apparently going to turn its back on Israel. And this is not helping their case at all. Just point that out. But anyway, my friends, you guys take care, be blessed, and I'll see you all in the next video.